Hello, once again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to Sober Talk. You know, it's been a long time since we've done Sober Talk. Too long. First things first, before we get underway, let's get a couple things out of the way. We have the karaoke contest, St. Francis County, next karaoke, next voice karaoke contest, part two coming up. Um, and my camera is not cooperating. Okay. I am entered. I am entered. The entry fee was a little bit more than last time, but that didn't matter to me. I figured just get in there and do my thing. So, starting tomorrow, as I'm filming this video, we're going to be bringing in a lot more footage like we did last time. I was going to put up this one last video talking, showing the last song, but it just, you know, I it was one of those moments that I mean, I did good, but I didn't do as well as I should have. So I'm, it's like, I really don't want to show you all that. Let's just skip it and get on to the next. All right. And speaking of getting on to the next, uh, let's get, there's still, after all these years since Alcoholics has been, Alcoholics Anonymous has been around since June 1935, I think is when we can it was either June or July of 1935 that Alcoholics Anonymous was founded. And all that being said, there's still a lot of myths about alcoholics, the alcoholics themselves. Plain and simple, we alcoholics are a strange breed. And, not a whole lot is known about us. First things first, most people this day and age, there's still a lot of myths, a lot of myths. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to bust some of those myths, and I'm going to try to shed some light on it. Maybe you yourself have a friend or a family member, some sort of loved one that is an alcoholic. I guarantee if enough people come on to watch this video right now, they'll say, I have a relative who is an alcoholic, or I have a friend who's an alcoholic, or I have an ex who is an alcoholic. That being said, alcoholism is very commonplace. It's more common than it used to be. Because of this whole thing with, like I said, there's still a lot of myths out there. So let's get underway. And without further ado, the first myth that has to be smashed right now. How many times I've heard this? My uncle used to be an alcoholic, or my dad used to be an alcoholic, or my mom used to be an alcoholic. Folks, there is no such thing as a used to be alcoholic, okay? There's no such thing. I wish people would stop making this mistake. If you are an alcoholic, you were always an alcoholic, okay? Even though I have not drank in over 12 years now, I am still an alcoholic, okay? Plain and simple, I will always be an alcoholic. There are some people that borderline on that, and we'll talk about that in a very brief second. But in a nutshell, if you will, once a cucumber becomes a pickle, you can't make it into a cucumber again. So that being said, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Now, the big book does describe three types of drinkers in the world. And maybe you yourself fall into one of these three categories. But this will really clear it up. The first type of drinker is they're the casual drinker, the social drinker. They might go out someplace, they might have one or two. They might have, they may even have a drink maybe once a year or something like that, okay? It's very rare you see them drinking, okay? And if they are drinking, you very rarely see them drunk. They might even be able to count the amount of times they've been drunk on one hand. That's your your social drinker. They're you know there's nothing wrong with that. They there's a lot of people out there that can have one or two and they're good. You know. Then there's your heavy drinker. Now they drink like they're an alcoholic, but something will happen. Maybe their health turns bad, and a doctor tells them, if you keep drinking like this, you're done. Okay, you're done for. So they'll stop or they'll moderate. Maybe they fall in love. The right one comes into their life, and that's the end of it. They're like, I got to do right, or I'm going to lose them. Or maybe their significant other, wife, husband, whatever, says, I'm done. I can't deal with this. You either stop drinking, and they'll stop, or they'll moderate, or something bad will happen and they'll stop or moderate. Whatever the case may be, something will happen in their life and they'll either stop or they'll slow down dramatically. And that's your heavy drinker. But then there's the real alcoholic. They can't stop. Okay? They're at a stage where they have lost control of their drinking. Okay? And they might be able to moderate, they might even be able to stop, but for whatever reason, they will end up drunk again at some stage in their life. And when they do end up drunk again, forget it. It's ridiculous. It's like the gloves come off. It's scary to watch. Okay, so because of this, that is a true alcoholic. Okay. So again, there is no such thing as they used to be alcoholics. That's your heavy drinkers, and they were never really alcoholic to begin with. Okay? They just found a reason to stop before they lost control. Okay. Now, we've clarified that. The first thing you've got to understand, alcoholism is not a lack of willpower. Folks, people make this mistake. Okay, they try to lump them in with the heavy drinkers. Well, he's with a good gal or she's with a good guy. If they really loved him as much as they say they do, they would stop. Stuff like that. I've heard this all before. Folks, they can't control their drinking. Alcoholics of my temperament cannot control their drinking. And AA, for years has tried to lump us in. At the time it worked, but it's one of those things. It doesn't exactly work. They've tried to lump us in with like cancer patients, and that just doesn't work. If you will, with like a cancer patient, you can't do that. Really, the best way to put us is in almost like a Tourette's or some sort of mental disability like that, because in essence, like your severe case of Tourette's where they might blurt something out, without we can't tell ourselves not to drink that alcohol. Okay, we have a serious impulse problem with that, with when it pertains to alcohol. I mean, like my cup of coffee, if I decide that I don't want to drink any more coffee, I can put it down. Which I am going to put it down because I got my drink, coffee. But I can tell myself, but when I'm practicing my alcoholism, if you will, I cannot tell myself not to drink. Okay? I have lost my ability to say no. Okay? So if you have an alcoholic of that temperament, they have no control. They have no willpower to that next drink. The power to say no has to come from somewhere else. That's the way that it works. And I think Princess Faye just came home. Anyhow, she's been at work all day. But that's the thing you all have to remember, is that alcoholism is not a lack of willpower. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. Alcoholics who get into recovery are not bad people trying to be good. They're sick people trying to get better. Folks, there's actually some people in the scientific community right now who are trying to get the whole thing with alcoholics, with alcoholism, the disease of alcoholism repealed, which pisses me off. Again, alcoholism is a physical and mental illness. Okay, we obsess about our next drink. Okay, and because we obsess about our next drink, we're always thinking about it, and we have no ability to say no when we're practicing alcoholism. We also have the serious problem that um, our body craves it. It's like almost like the the best writing I ever heard was from a Dr. William D. Silkworth. First time I read it in what is known as the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he talks about a destructive allergic reaction where our bodies basically crave it, and it's one of those things that in the more severe cases, uh, when we're not drinking, we could hallucinate, go through serious physical withdrawals where we begin shaking. In a lot of ways, it actually looks a lot like someone who's trying to come down from like heroin or something like that. Um, you know, so that's where it really kind of ties in. Okay. Um, and because of the horrible paths that alcoholism takes us down, we do a lot of things that we really should not do. Okay, it takes us to places that we don't want to go. The best way I can, and I say this in meetings, so I'll say it here. Alcoholism made me the monster I never wanted to be. It made me everything that I hate. Okay, and um, underneath all of that, I was still a good person. I was just doing really dumb things out of my disease. So when I got into recovery, one of the first things that I had to be told was I was a good person. I was a good person underneath all of this. I may not know who that good person is, but I was going to have to find them. But the main objective is to use the 12 steps to get better. Okay, to get better. I was never going to be well, but I was going to get better. The big book describes going through the 12 steps as recovering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Doesn't say anything about making us good people. Okay, and if you go through the steps, eventually, I mean, you clear away those nasty habits that made you perceivable as a bad person, which I guess in a way that's why sometimes you loved ones out there will often say, if you could only see what I see in them. Okay, um, it's like that. And for the record, I have known some good people in my time who were seriously alcoholic and would not go get the help. They were good people. And the moment they, basically, if you could catch them before 9 o'clock, you'd meet the greatest people in the world. After 9 o'clock, they went to crap. So that's where we're at on this. Okay. Uh, Folks, again, alcoholics are not bad people. We're just sick. Okay. And that's, again, there are some scientists and doctor types who are trying to take that away from us. Don't do that. Okay. Um, just don't. Okay. So let's move on. Let's move on. Um, this is really kind of sad. Um, True alcoholics are not dumb people. Every alcoholic I have ever met in the program, thank you, thank you, I appreciate that. Actually, someone, real quick, since you left that comment, uh, someone who just told me I look like John Lennon. I used to work at this factory, and at this factory there was this guy, my foreman, who said that I looked like John Lennon's son Julian, and he would often tease me and call me Julian instead of by my real name. Uh, so if he hollered out Julian, I knew who he was talking to. All right. Let's see. True alcoholics are not dumb. Okay, they're not dumb. Uh, Alcoholics are we're highly intelligent, and we're so intelligent it's actually spooky. Let me explain. Um, Take an alcoholic practicing or in recovery. An alcoholic, um, we're really good at what we do. We're overachievers, okay? It's all or nothing, okay? And we're really good at it. I mean, super good. It's almost spooky, and we can just about do any job we want. Take us and drop us into a group of people, and we could socialize with the best of them. And in a lot of cases, no matter what the group is talking about, we can pretty well at least carry on, the intelligent part of the conversation. It doesn't matter if you're talking about guns, cars, um, locker room talk about women for those guys, or and let's be honest, you ladies, I've heard some of you gals is not, I've heard some of you gals talk. You can get in those conversations, and an alcoholic, even of the opposite gender, can carry on the more you know, they can blend in just fine. We're alcoholics like myself. Uh, we're highly intelligent. We're highly intelligent. Why be a stone? Why not be a stoner? Because the legal is this real quick. I'm just going to say it. Okay. Um, Normally, I would save this something for in your face, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The legalization of pot. Um, if any government in the United States is willing to legalize pot, I'm just going to openly say it. There's an agenda behind it, okay? And and I don't like to mix politics into sober talk, but I will make this one exception this one time. Um, the reason why any government, especially even Missouri, talking about it, there's an agenda, okay? And a stoned population won't argue when the government's taking away your rights. So if you're smoking pot, you're part of the problem, okay? Uh, you want to be clear headed so you can sit there and evaluate the facts so you can make the best possible judgment, because the last thing we want is our rights to be taken away. Plain and simple, okay? Um, you know, and I live a clean and sober life. I like living a clean and sober life. So in AA, we oftentimes refer to those people that instead of them getting sober, well, they'll stop drinking alcohol, but then they'll start using pot, and we call those people pharmaceutically flexible. Okay, and that's an actual joke, honest to goodness. Okay, so if you're in AA and you smoke pot, you're still not sober. Okay, that's just fact. All right. Um, even if you don't take an over-the-counter medication the way it's supposed to be, that's actually technically considered a relapse. Okay, technically. I mean, it's splitting hairs at that point, but you get the idea. All right. Back to alcoholics. We're not dumb people. We're highly intelligent. To give you an example, I'll use myself because I won't, unless I have their permission, I won't give, too much in the way of other people. But to give you an idea, if you look at the Prince Magnum channel, I could talk about hot rodding, I could talk about cooking, I could talk about romance, I could talk about politics, I could talk about alternate media, things like that. I can just, I can go on and on and on and do very, very well. Okay. And I can hold my own in a lot of situations. There's some areas that I'm not that good at. That's just the way it is. Okay. And This is in spite of a stroke and things like that. You know, I've went through some things that I shouldn't be where I'm still at today. You know, that's just kind of how it is. And because of this, I mean, I tell people just imagine what I was like before my stroke. You know, and that's to give you an idea. I'm not unique in that category. Believe it or not, I'm very much not unique. I'm actually very intelligent, and there's a million of us in AA that are just as intelligent. Anyhow, all right. Let's see. Here's another sad one. I hate to say it. True alcoholics are oftentimes the last people to know that they have a problem. Everybody else will spot it. Okay, it's like, man, you know, you're destroying your life. They don't see it. But and this is kind of commonplace with every problem out there in the world. For example, I mean, you know, people that suffer from depression and things like that. This is an ongoing issue. Okay, um, that's just how it is. You know, alcoholics are a more extreme example because we'll take it to a whole new level of ridiculous. Um, I remember reading a story one time about a guy who had been a doctor and had lost his practice because of his drinking and was living under a bridge, you know, drinking the booze from the brown paper bag. And he was living like this because he just couldn't stop drinking. Okay. And in his mind, everything was okay as long as he got that next drink. I actually knew of a guy who had his own business and was very successful at it and was doing very well. He lost it all because of his drinking. Um, really good guy. He lost everything because of his drinking. Um, and because, and he was living in Las Vegas, basically, you know, he was panhandling, you know, basically sitting there on the side of a curb with a cup out, and people would throw money in there, and that's how he got his next drink. And when he came, you know, when he got sober, came back to the area and got his life back on track and that sort of thing, you know, he had his own business again and was doing very well. You know, he basically built himself back up. So in all of that, he was the last person to know he had a problem because in his head, you know, everything was all right until he got you know, as long as he got his next drink. So, you know, we're the last ones to know we have a problem. Um, Now, this next one, okay, and I'm going to try to make this my final one. Um, Plain and simple, Alcoholics Anonymous does not make people get sober. I'm going to say that again, and I might have lost some of you as you're watching this. Alcoholics Anonymous does not make people get sober. It provides a program so people can get sober. In a nutshell, when you go into AA, there's no one to make you get sober. There is no such thing as an AA police, and we don't kick you out, okay, if you don't get sober. Alcoholics, they come in, they check the program out, and if they decide they want to get sober, it's up to them to do the work to get sober. And what does that entail? Getting a sponsor, doing the steps with that sponsor out of the big book, going to meetings, getting involved, and doing all the things that we typically do in AA. That's what it takes. Now, for some alcoholics, this is too big of a challenge, okay? It's really not that hard. It is, as we say in the program, it is the easier, softer way to get sober, but a lot of people don't do it. While I'm also mentioning Alcoholics Anonymous, I also want to say, from what I understand, it's pretty well the same way in Narcotics Anonymous as well. A lot of people don't want to get clean and sober in NA as well. You know, to them, it's too hard to stay off the, to stay, to face life without being inebriated or being numb to everything. Okay. So, you know, again, I'm going to say it, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, while we're talking about my narcotic brethren, um, you know, we don't make them get sober. They come in, and if they're willing, we'll help them get sober. Okay? Plain and simple. And the ones that actually do make it, well, I've always heard it's a 1 in 10 shot for everybody. A 1 in 10 shot when you come in. Um, you have a I guess you could say a 10% chance of getting sober. Okay? Um, Let me give you an example. And again, we're going to use my story for this. Um, when I got sober, I got sober February 7th, 2006. Okay, and if you look at that time span, starting around the tail end of November to about the beginning of April, there was an influx of newcomers. There was about 10 of us during this time frame. Okay, and in this time frame, I was one of 10. Okay, most of us right away ended up back out there drinking. I know one of us uh, one of us ended up dying from their alcoholism. I know one of us died. Another one is in prison right now, and he was in and out, in and out. And actually, a gal that I even dated at one point, she was in and out 3 times, and it was her health turning so bad that another drink could have killed her. She got sober, and for the record, she had like a couple months more than me. So she finally got it, but it took her a while. Okay, and it's sad. It's kind of how it goes, and I hate, I mean, she's a good gal. She really is. A little bizarre, kind of numbed. Her habits kind of numbed her a little bit between the years, a little bit. But she's a good gal, and as a matter of fact, like I said, I dated her for a little while, and it just didn't work out. But hey, that's the way it is. That's the funny thing about alcoholism. We're a strange breed. We are. We really are a strange breed. Um, and for that matter, while we're on the subject of strange breeds, true alcoholics are rare in general. They're more commonplace than most people think. Um, but your true addicts, and the people that could utilize Narcotics Anonymous, those people are even more rare. Now, I know some of you are sitting there saying, how could you say that with all the heroin abuse going on? Hear me out for just a moment. Back when I was when I made 4 years sober, and this has been some time ago, the statistics came across the board from the home office in New York for Alcoholics Anonymous, that a good majority of the people that go into Narcotics Anonymous are going under there with the false pretense that they're addicts when they're actually alcoholic. That only like a handful of them really and truthfully uh, need Narcotics Anonymous, because that is real. Uh, Narcotics Anonymous is very specialized. I don't think a lot of people realize. I've had the opportunity to sit through a couple of their meetings, and I was very grateful at being able to sit through a couple of Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and I was very grateful that they also let me sit in those meetings. So again, special thank you to my Narcotics Anonymous brethren. But basically, what it boils down to is, well, I'll give you the story that was given to me. Um, There was this particular gentleman, this was actually up in St. Louis, who kept showing up at treatment centers, and he kept swearing up and down that he was an addict. And they're like, okay, well, and this is members of AA. Well, tell us what happened. He said, well, when I got out of treatment last time, a buddy of mine, a buddy of mine came over, and we had a 12 pack, and then after the 12 pack, we went out and got an 8 ball. Y'all don't probably see this right away, but let me explain. The alcohol wasn't enough, okay? And when that wasn't enough, then they went and got something else, okay? Uh, the best way I mean, that's almost like splitting hairs, but let me just kind of put it like this. Whatever you start with is what makes you what you are. So if you typically start with alcohol and then maybe end up on drugs, you're an alcoholic. The alcohol wasn't enough. You went off and had to have something else. If you started with the drugs and you end up doing alcohol, well, then you're an addict, okay? Why do people make the assumption, if they're alcoholic, that they have to be an addict? Well, there's a lot of theories out there, but I'll just give my theory from what I have listened to. What that theory is that an addict is more extreme, and alcoholics want to be the worst case scenario. We're always different. Our case is special. No one will understand us, and basically they want to take it to that extreme. Alcohol doesn't sound so extreme as being a heroin addict. Okay, it's not. No one's really going to kick in the door of your house and say, don't drink that. But they're liable to kick in the door and say, don't be shooting that up. Okay? So, something to think about right there. Okay? Don't be, you see where I'm going with this. Okay? In a nutshell, you know, alcoholics want to be the worst case scenario. We want to seem like the extreme example. Again, we're a very weird breed, plain and simple. Plain and simple. All right. I mean, I think that pretty well covers it. So if you have a loved one who's a true alcoholic, I mean a true one, the best suggestion, because I don't give advice when it comes to alcoholism, I just give suggestions based on my own personal experiences, and living the program for over 12 years now. The best thing that I will tell you is, if you have a loved one who is an alcoholic and they keep getting into trouble, don't bail them out anymore. Okay? Let them bail themselves out, and when they can no longer bail themselves out, they'll either do one of two things. They'll either keep on, hoping that, hoping to, kind of make themselves numb to the situation, or they're going to go get help. Okay? And yes, they might need help, but they got to want it. Okay? They've got to want it. And if everybody in just St. Francis County, who needed Alcoholics Anonymous, decided to get help, the ones that need it, well, we would need Busch Stadium, okay? That's the way it is. Plain and simple. Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, again, special shout out to my Narcotics Anonymous brethren. You have to want it, okay? You have to want it. And today I still want sobriety. I'm very proud of my sobriety. And, continuing on, staying sober, I mean, this is the easier, softer way, okay? Alcoholism took me away from hot rodding. It took my first family away. It takes a lot of things away. And, today, what I have may not be perfect, but it's mine, and I'm grateful that I have it. All right. Real quick, I want to give a very special shout out for this video. kind of an inspiration for this video. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of old high school friends of mine. One of them being Miss Katie King, who was at the Azalea Festival with her daughter, who's getting ready to graduate high school. I want to give Katie a big special shout out, and at the same time, I also want to give a special shout out, big inspiration to another high school friend of mine, Teresa Green, who has went on and became a life coach, Um, and I wanted to give her a special shout out because it'd been a while since we've done sober talk. It'd been very long since we've done sober talk, too long, and I've been meaning to do it, and I've been meaning to do this video for quite some time, and I recently watched a video that she posted on Facebook, and it was just kind of grabbed me right here. It's like, I need to do this video because I know there's going to be a lot of loved ones who really, 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 really need this video more than anybody in the world. And she was kind of my inspiration. So Teresa, thank you for the inspiration, for getting me to sit down and kind of break some of these myths apart about alcoholism. One of the next times we do sober talk, we're going to talk about the fourth step and my personal experiences with the fourth step. Which, if all goes well, maybe I might be able to do that by this Saturday. And we'll go into great depth, okay? Great depth. And hopefully, if you've not checked out the other videos that started talking about the first step, the second step, and the third step, you might want to do so when I end this video because there's a lot of information to take in, okay? So that brings us to the usual spot, all right? If you like this video, and a few of you have already done so, be sure to hit the like button and hit that subscribe button, okay? It's always appreciated. If you've not checked out my page on Patreon, you might want to do so. Right now, I'm beginning, between between now and August, whoever is able to donate the most money will get a special care package from me, Prince Magnum, as a big giant thank you, because we're shooting for that goal of $1,000 so we can make some major upgrades to Project Spirit. While we're also at it, who knows what'll be thrown in there. But if you have the money and you're able to donate, just remember that money goes towards that goal. And if you are able to donate enough to get us to that, whoever donates the most will get this care package. And something that we'll also be doing as time progresses and you're able to donate money, we'll also give special shout outs to whoever donates the most at that point in time. Also, while we're also on the subject, tomorrow, and I know this is going to be a heck of a thing to put in a sober talk video, I will be at Laz's Bar and Grill at before 9 o'clock to do the St. Francis County Next Voice Karaoke Contest Part 2. I will be on stage again doing karaoke. I will not be there. If you see anything in my hand, it's going to be a soda, okay? So this is your opportunity to see me on stage singing live. So you don't have to wait for the video. So you could see me live and in person. And if you're a true fan of the Prince Magnum channel and you want to hobnob with me, this is an excellent time to do so, okay? By all means, I always love my members of the Maverick Nation coming up and hobnobbing with me. All right. Usually I do a specific, get out there, work on a project, all that good stuff. But since this is sober talk, we're going to do it as I would do it in a meeting. Obviously not using my real name, but you'll get the general idea. So this is how we're going to end it this time. At day's end, I hope all of you need me as much as I need all of you, I need every last one of you out there, okay? I'm still selfish, okay? I need you all. And for all of you, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's eating you, okay? No matter if you're in recovery, no matter if you're, not in recovery, or maybe you're not an alcoholic. For all of you out there, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.